Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Okay, Mr. Miller, I think you are early. I have Miss Bush first.
We are early. I can log out and log back in, or
Okay, I'll put you in the virtual waiting room.
sounds good.
All right. Good morning. How are y'all?
Fine. How are you?
Good. Well, welcome to Probate Court 2 in Tarrant County, Texas. We have with us one of our court reporters, Michelle Stewart. She is actually practicing. We've had, good morning. She's muted.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, sorry about that. When we are live streaming to YouTube instead of Facebook, and when we live stream to YouTube, we get feedback, so I have to turn it off. When we are on Facebook, it doesn't happen. But welcome to Probate Court number 2, and as I said, Ms. Stewart is joining us. She is making sure that she can hear everybody, because we've had a few Zoom hearings where they wanted a court reporter, and it's been challenging, but we've been working it out. So Ms. Baird, thank you for filing your hearing letter. And it says that there is a notary there with you. Is that you or someone else?
No, she's in here. She's just on the
Okay.
side. Hi.
Good morning. I am going to guess that you've probably never sworn in a witness. So if you want to repeat after me to the witness, she'll raise her right hand.
Okay.
And will you ask her if she swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help her God.
Annette, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Baird.
Hey. Can you please state your name and address for the court?
Annette Haggerty, 1811 Shady Green Drive, apartment 1171, Arlington, Texas, 76015.
And is Nora Yvonne Golston the decedent in this matter?
Yes.
And was Nora your friend?
Yes.
And how long did you know Nora?
12 years.
Nora passed away in Tarrant County, Texas on January 31st, 2020.
Yes.
At the time of her death, was she domiciled in and living in Arlington, Tarrant County, Texas?
Yes.
And when she passed away, did she own property, specifically a vehicle and some AT&T stock that would require administration to be handled?
Yes.
When Nora passed away, did she leave a valid will?
Yes.
Was that will dated January 16th, 2020?
Yes.
After the date of that will, to the best of your knowledge, was any marriage of Nora's terminated?
No.
After the date of that will, to the best of your knowledge, were any children born to or adopted by Nora?
No.
And after the date of that will, to the best of your knowledge, did Nora revoke, change, modify this will in any way?
No.
Do you think you would recognize that will if you saw it?
Yes.
Okay. Now the court has an original copy of that will that we have turned in, and are we going to try and look at it on the screen, or are we just going to use our copy we have?
Well, I'd like you to prove it up as a copy per the rules of evidence, and then I'm going to do some, I'll do some follow-up questions at the end.
Okay, so did you yourself see the original will that Nora signed?
Yes.
Were you there in the room on the day that Nora signed that will?
Yes.
So to the best of your knowledge, looking at this will, are you able to see there are any differences or changes to this will than the original that you did see?
No.
And looking at this will, do you see that Nora has initialed the bottom of the pages of each of these wills?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, is there any reason that Nora would have revoked or changed this will in any way?
No.
Do you know of any reason why this copy would be any different than the original of the will?
No.
When Nora executed the original will, did her attorneys that drafted that was us, did her attorneys take that original will directly with them to their office?
Yes.
And was that original will immediately scanned and emailed back to y'all with an electronic scan?
Yes.
And when y'all received the electronic scan, was there any difference between the original you saw Nora sign and the scan that we sent over?
No.
And to the best of your knowledge, this copy I have printed out in front of you that has the file mark that shows that we have sent the original off to the court. Can you tell any way that this printed out file marked copy is any different than the scan that we emailed that had Nora's emailed or scanned last will and testament in it? Is this any different?
No.
And to the best of your knowledge, you turned in, or well, no, let me rephrase. After Nora passed away, did you bring the original will here to this office?
Yeah.
And you left that with us?
Yeah.
And to the best of your knowledge, we sent that, or we dropped that off at the courthouse personally and received a receipt for that original will. Okay, very good. Now looking at this copy that is no different than, that you can tell, than the original, do you recognize Nora's signature on page 9 of this copy?
Yeah.
And to the best of your knowledge, she never revoked or changed this will in any way.
No.
And this matches the original that you've seen. And the contents are the same.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. And then does the will name you, Annette, to serve as the independent executor?
Yes.
Without bond and with the power to sell? Is that correct? And are you, does the will name any state, governmental agency, or charity as a beneficiary? And are you qualified and not disqualified from serving as the executor?
Yes.
And more specifically, that means you've never been convicted of a crime of moral turpitude.
No.
You've never been convicted of a felony.
No.
You've never been declared incapacitated yourself.
No.
You've, Nora's estate doesn't owe you any money,
No.
does it? And you've never declared bankruptcy, have
No.
you? Very good. And you are asking the court today to appoint you independent executor of the estate of Nora Yvonne Golston and issue letters testamentary. Is that correct?
Yes. Correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Okay. Do you live here in Texas?
Yes.
Okay. And did Nora pass away in Fort Worth?
Yes.
Okay. And you talked about the original will. I'm going to show you what I believe your attorney has filed with us. It's the original will. It has initials on the bottom. Looks like initials on the bottom of each page
Yes.
in blue. And then I'm going to turn to page 9.
Yes, that's her signature.
Okay. And does that appear to be the original that you delivered to your attorney?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I will find that Nora Golston was a resident of Tarrant County when she passed away, and you have proofed up her will in accordance with Texas law. I'll admit her will to probate, and I'll find you a proper person to serve as independent executrix. So Ms. Haggerty, if you will raise your right hand one more time. Do you, Annette Haggerty, solemnly swear that the writing which has been offered for probate is the last will and testament of Nora Yvonne Golston, so far as you know or believe, and will you well and truly perform all the duties of independent executrix of her will and her estate?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You can put your hand down. You are going to sign your oath and your testimony, and Ms. Baird is going to file those with the court. I'll sign the oath, and Ms. Clay will email the oath and some information about being an independent executrix to your attorney. When you receive that information, it will tell you of the rights and obligations of an independent executrix, but it does not substitute for Ms. Baird, and I trust you're going to continue to work with her.
Okay.
Okay. I think that is it for today. Ms. Baird, it will take us a while to email that order. We're going to do our morning docket, and then we'll email them all at the same time unless we get a break, and then you'll get it a little sooner. Y'all have a wonderful weekend and stay healthy.
Yes, thank
Okay,
you. You as well.
Thank you. Ms. Stewart, are you getting it all?
I'm hearing it all.
Wonderful. Are you ready for the next one? And you
Ready
can
for the
come
next one.
anytime. I know you just wanted to check it out and make sure you can hear everybody. So whenever you're happy.
I'll watch a couple if you're good with that.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. Our other one's already ready, so I will let them in. And if you're joining
Okay.
on YouTube, welcome to Probate Court number 2 in Tarrant County. And I'll remind you that any recording is prohibited by law. The court has the official record, and in this case, Ms. Stewart is taking it down for us today.
Basically, what
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are y'all today?
Good morning, Judge. We're doing fine. How are you doing today?
Good. We have Michelle Stewart that is joining us. She is one of our court reporters, and she's just basically practicing because we've been asked for records on a few Zoom hearings. So we're just kind of trying to work out those logistics, and these were some good estates to do that on. This is the estate of George Studdard, and I see your client is with you. I'm pulling up your case and your hearing letter. Thank you for filing your hearing letter. It helps me with who's in the waiting room and who we're working on.
You bet.
Waiting on. Let's see. Okay, and you're a notary?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Okay, well, I'm guessing you don't typically swear in witnesses, so if you will repeat after me.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Sir, will you please raise your right hand?
Sir, will
And
you please raise your right hand?
Mr. Miller will swear you in if you'll ask him if he swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help him God.
Will you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I will.
Thank you. And Mr. Miller, I will remind you that we are live streaming on YouTube. So
Okay.
sometimes we get very specific as to things, but as far as addresses and other things go, I need you to meet your burden, for instance, the state or the county, depending on who you're talking about. But
Okay.
for privacy reasons, let's not go into full addresses and specifics on some things.
Okay.
And you may go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, how do you want me to handle the will signature?
Well, I want you to prove up the will as a copy per the Texas Rules of Evidence, and then I'm going to follow up at the end with some questions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Can you please state your name and the city that you live?
Gary Robert Studdard, Cleburne, Texas.
And you were acquainted with George Robert Studdard, the decedent, weren't you?
Yes,
In fact, he was your father, wasn't he?
yes,
Did your father pass away on February 21st, 2020 in Fort Worth, Tarrant County, Texas at the age of 90 years?
yes,
Was the date that your father passed away less than 4 years ago at the time of the filing of the application?
yes,
Was your father a resident of Tarrant County at the time of his death?
yes,
I now show you a document dated April 25th, 2019 that purports to be your father's last will and testament. Is that his signature? To the best of your knowledge, your father never revoked his will, is that correct?
yes,
There is a necessity for administration, is that correct?
yes,
After the date of the will, there were no other children born to or adopted by your father, is that correct?
yes,
Your father had no marriage that was dissolved after the date of the will by divorce, annulment, or a declaration that the marriage was void, is that correct?
yes,
And there are no gifts to the state of Texas, a political subdivision of the state of Texas, or any charity in your father's will, is that correct?
yes,
And you are named independent executor, is that correct?
yes,
Before coming here today, did I show you the statute for disqualification for someone serving as executor?
yes,
Are you qualified to serve as such and to accept letters testamentary?
yes.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Miller, we always specifically ask the qualifications.
Okay.
Glad you did show him the statute.
Are you incapacitated?
No,
Have you been convicted of a felony under the laws of the United States or any state?
no,
Are you a resident of Texas?
yes,
Are you a corporation?
no,
Thank you. I can tell we're over 18 as well. Mr. Studdard, were you in possession of the original will?
yes,
And did you deliver that to Mr. Miller?
yes, I did.
And is it your understanding he delivered it to the court?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I am going to show you what I have that purports to be that original, and I'm going to show you several different pages. And so I'd like you to tell me if you believe it is the one that you were in possession of and delivered to Mr. Miller. This is the first page, and the clerk has written a cause number on it.
Yes,
Okay. It's pretty thick, probably about 1/2 inch. And I'm going to turn to page 40. Do you recognize that as your father's signature?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Here's the attestation. And I'm going to show you the last page.
Yes, I recognize that.
Believe that to be the original that you delivered to Mr. Miller.
I do.
All right, thank you. I will find that George Robert Studdard was a resident of Tarrant County when he passed away, and you have proved up his will in accordance with Texas law. I'll admit his will to probate, and I'll find that you're a proper person to serve as independent executor. If you will please raise your right hand one more time. Do you, Gary Robert Studdard, solemnly swear that the writing which has been offered for probate is the last will and testament of George Robert Studdard, so far as you know or believe, and will you well and truly perform all the duties of independent executor of his will and his estate?
I will.
Thank you. Mr. Miller is going to notarize the oath and the testimony that you're going to sign, and he'll file it with the court. Mr. Miller, you will receive the order from Ms. Clay. It'll probably be about 30 to 45 minutes because I'm going to finish my morning docket before I send it to you, or before she's able to send it to you. And then the clerk can mail your letters once all of that is filed.
Okay.
And I think that is it.
Okay.
Mr. Miller, you will receive something from Mr. Studdard, and Mr. Studdard, that will tell you the rights and obligations of an independent executor, but it doesn't substitute for Mr. Miller, and I trust you're going to continue to work with him.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all very much. Have a great weekend and stay healthy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Ms. Stewart, we have no one in the waiting room, so our
Okay,
hearing is set to begin at 10:30. You're welcome to stick around or come back or whatever you'd like to do.
okay. Well, I think I'm good. I'll be in touch. Let me know if anything comes up. Thanks, Judge.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye. You too.
And if you are joining us on YouTube, welcome. I'll remind you that recording is prohibited by law. It's about 10:19. We'll be back around 10:30. That's our next hearing. And so you are welcome to rejoin us or stay with us. There just won't be a whole lot going on. I'm actually going to be reviewing a lot of inventories with each of these estates that you've seen so far. They are required to file an inventory or an affidavit in lieu of inventory. And so those all have to be reviewed and an order signed. So there's always something to do in probate court too. So I'll be looking back and forth, and you'll be seeing me just review some of the things that we have to do, along with dependent administrations. You saw independent instead of dependent, but dependent administrations, they have to ask permission to do anything, to sell property, to pay their attorney's fees, to pay their CPAs. So there's a lot of information that we have to review the filings of, and either order that those applications are granted and that they can pay those things or sell their property, or we need more information, or it's just not proper under the law. So we will see you back in about 10 minutes. Did it what? Yes, please. Good morning and welcome to Probate Court number 2 in Tarrant County, Texas. If you're joining us on YouTube, we welcome you. I'm Judge Brooke Allen. I will remind you that recording is prohibited by law. Mr. Hale, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I see your name, but I don't see that you're connected to audio. And we need visual as well. And I received a hearing letter, but it didn't confirm that you were able to connect by video or audio. It also didn't confirm if your client would be with you or I should be looking for someone else. Okay, now it's connecting. Okay, Mr. Hale, can you hear me? Mr. Hale, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Can you see me?
Well, I see a frozen you. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Your hearing letter didn't put in the requirements what we asked. So I assume that's your client sitting next to you. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And do you have a notary with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Are you the notary or is there another notary in the room with you? Okay.
In the room.
Okay. Do you all have a window open or something that can, okay, that's better.
We're catching.
I'm seeing a lot of bright light that sometimes I can't see your faces.
Let's do this. We're gonna move.
Okay. That is much better.
Okay.
All right. I am going to guess your notary is not used to swearing people in. So let's see. How do you say your client's last name?
Zarate.
Zarate. Ms. Zarate, will you please raise your right hand? Okay, and if the notary will repeat after me to Ms. Zarate, we will ask her if she swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Hale.
Thank you. I called Jennifer Lane Zarate.
Okay.
Mrs. Zarate, would you please state your relationship to David Elbert Pierce?
I'm his daughter.
Okay. And your address, please?
It's 285 Bearden Road.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hale. I know we give specifics a lot of times. We are live streaming on YouTube per the Office of Court Administration, so let's not give specifics. I need you to meet your burden under the law as to county and sometimes just the state. But for her privacy and the privacy of the decedent, let's just
Sure.
state.
Are you a Texas resident?
Yes.
Did your father pass away on August 16th, 2019 in Tarrant County, Texas at the age of 84?
Right.
Okay. Do you recognize this document which has been filed in this case as the last will and testament of David Elbert Pierce?
Yes.
Okay. And this document bears your father's signature?
Yes.
and it's dated January 15th, 2008. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did your father ever change his will,
Not to my knowledge.
and he never revoked it? Is that correct?
Correct.
And at the time that he signed this will, he was single. Is that correct?
Correct.
And he remained single until the time of his death?
Correct.
Did he have any children born to or adopted by him after he signed this will?
No.
Under this will, you're appointed to serve as the independent executor without bond. Is that correct?
Correct.
Have you ever been, are you qualified and not disqualified from serving as independent executor?
Yes.
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude?
No.
Have you ever been under a court order for guardianship?
No.
And you believe that administration is necessary in this estate?
Yes.
Ask the witness.
Okay, Mr. Hale, if you ask her another question, I didn't,
Ask the witness.
can you ask her about the charities and stuff? I think you froze up and I didn't hear her last question.
Is the state of Texas any agency of the state or any charitable organization named that divides the under the will?
No.
Okay. Did your father pass away in South Lake? I'm sure you answered, and I'm not sure if you can hear me, but you're frozen again, Mr. Hale. Was that
You're frozen.
well, you guys were frozen to me. That's right. Okay, the order says he passed away in South Lake. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And were you in possession of the original will?
Yes.
Okay, and did you deliver that to Mr. Hale?
Yes.
Okay, so your understanding he delivered that or had it delivered to the court?
Correct.
Okay, I think that was a yes. Mr. Hale, did you have it delivered to the court? Y'all are frozen again.
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
I did.
Okay, Mr. Roddy, I'm going to show you what I have. So I'm going to show you a few pages, and then if you'll let me know if that appears to be the original. That's the first page. And I'm going to turn to page 11. Does that appear to be your father's signature?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to show you the last page. Does that appear to be the original that you delivered to Mr. Hale?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I will find that David Elbert Pierce was a resident of Tarrant County when he passed away, and you have proved up his will in accordance with Texas law. I'll admit his will to probate, and I'll find you're a proper person to serve as independent executrix. If you'll raise your right hand one more time. And Mr. Roddy, are you formerly known as Jennifer Lane Pierce?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So do you, Jennifer Lane Zarate, solemnly swear that the writing which has been offered for probate is the last will and testament of David Elbert Pierce, so far as you know or believe, and will you well and truly perform all the duties of independent executrix of his will and his estate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You're going to sign your oath and testimony, and it will be notarized, and Mr. Hale will file it with the court. Mr. Hale, Ms. Clay will send you the order. It'll probably be a few minutes. We're going to finish our morning docket. Then I send them to Ms. Clay. She sends them to you and the clerk. She's also going to send you some information for your client. Talks about being an independent executrix, but it doesn't substitute for Mr. Hale, and I trust you're going to continue to work with him. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Well, once the clerk has everything, they will mail out the letters, Mr. Hale, and you are finished for today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a great weekend.
You too.
You too.
Our next hearing is in about 5 minutes. If you're joining us on YouTube, you are welcome to wait. It will be live streamed the whole time. It's just a little boring the next 5 minutes. You just watch me do other things and look at other things that are coming across the court that we have to write orders on. And if you are joining us for our last hearing, you see how technology makes it a little bit difficult sometimes, but we're going through and we're excited to open up our courts June 1. Good morning, Mr. Downings. How are y'all?
We're good.
Good. Thank you for filing your hearing letter and welcome to probate court number 2 in Tarrant County, Texas. I am actually in the courtroom, so if anybody heard on this matter, they would be able to. And this is the estate of Richard Lee DeVoe. And it's my understanding that Miss DeVoe is with you in your office. Oh, she is joining us on Zoom.
There she is. Good.
Yes.
Hi.
There we go. Now we're getting to her.
Good morning, Miss DeVoe. Welcome to probate court. Someone is getting feedback. They've either got us on YouTube as well, or
We were too close.
oh, y'all are in the same office. Okay. Mr. Downing, I'm going to mute you, and you're just going to have to talk loud enough so that it comes through Miss DeVoe's device. Okay. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Mr. Downing, if you will unmute yourself, for some reason it's not letting me. We're going to try and mute Miss DeVoe and unmute you and see if that takes care of the issue.
Okay, done.
No, we're still getting feedback. Do y'all have this on the phone as well?
She's on her phone, yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Okay, let's try me going over here. Is that better?
I think so. Ms. DeVoe, why don't you say something? I think yours is the one that gives the most feedback.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. If it's a handheld device or an iPad, can you
It's
be
an
in room 6 feet apart and just go back and forth? In fact, once we get started, really, I just need to see Ms. DeVoe testify, and Mr. Downing, I will just hear you.
That's fine. Go ahead. Turn yours off, Ms. DeVoe.
Turn mine off. Okay.
Okay, how's it now?
Well, that's better because hers is not on anymore. She's in the virtual waiting room.
Okay, good.
Okay, point towards her. We need to look at her.
Okay, is that good?
Yes, I see.
That's good. Okay. So I am guessing whoever your notary is doesn't typically swear witnesses in. So if Ms. DeVoe, if you'll raise your right hand, and if our notary will repeat after me, if you'll ask her if she's tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help her God.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Downing, you may begin. I will remind you we are live streaming on YouTube, and so sometimes we get very specific with addresses and other things. While I need you to meet your burden under Texas law as to county or state, depending on who you're speaking about or to, please let's don't get so specific as to specific addresses and other items, just for the privacy of your witness or your client as well as the decedent.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, state your name, please.
Catherine Lynn DeVoe?
Yes, and you are the spouse of Richard Lee DeVoe, correct?
Yes.
And he passed away in 2019.
September the 8th.
Yes, and it was in Tarrant County, correct?
Yes.
And let's see, this he was so this court has jurisdiction because he was in Tarrant County. Let's see, he owned real estate that needs to be administered, correct?
Yes.
And he left a.
Okay, sorry.
And after the date of the will, no child was born or adopted a decedent.
No.
And no marriage was dissolved after the will was made.
No.
And the will was made April 27th, 2007.
Yes.
And it was never revoked.
No.
And let's see, how do I do this? So this is the copy of the will here. This is a correct copy.
Yes.
And This is your spouse's signature on each page, correct? A couple more pages here. And there's the main signature there.
Yes.
And it was witnessed by 2 people,
Yes.
and it had a notary, correct?
Yes.
All right, and you are not, and you are not unable to serve as executor, correct? Meaning that you've never been convicted of a felony, and no court has ever declared you incompetent. And no state governmental agency of the state or charitable organization is named by the will as an advisee, correct?
What does that mean?
There's no, you're the primary beneficiary of the will,
Yes.
and there's not any contingent beneficiaries that are state or charities or anything. Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. DeVoe, did your husband pass away in Arlington?
Yes.
Okay, and you still live here in Texas?
Yes, ma'am. Same home. He passed at home.
Okay, and he lived here in Tarrant County before he passed away?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Were you in possession of the original will?
Yes.
Okay, and did you deliver that to Mr. Downing?
Yes.
It's your understanding he had that delivered to the court?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what I have that purports to be the original. And I'm going to show you the first page and then some of the last couple of pages. But I will say it does appear that he signed it on each page. This is the first page.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is page 7.
Yes, ma'am.
Page 8 has the addresses and the beginning of the self-proving affidavit. And then this is our last page.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that appear to be the original that you delivered to Mr. Downing?
It appears so, yes. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, I will find that Richard Lee DeVoe was a resident of Tarrant County when he passed away, and you have proved up his will in accordance with Texas law. I'll admit his will of probate, and I'll find you a proper person to serve as independent executrix. And Ms. DeVoe, if you'll raise your right hand one more time. Do you, Catherine DeVoe, solemnly swear that the writing which has been offered for probate is the last will and testament of Richard Lee DeVoe, so far as you know or believe, or will you well and truly perform all the duties of independent executrix of his will and his estate?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. All right, you're going to sign your oath and your testimony, and Mr. Downing is going to have that notarized, and he will file that with the court. Mr. Downing, when we're through with our docket today, Tina's going to be emailing out all the orders. She'll send that to you. She's also going to send the information for Ms. DeVoe about being an independent executrix. Ms. DeVoe, you'll find some information about that and your rights and obligations, but it doesn't substitute for Mr. Downing, and I trust you'll continue to work with him.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all very much. We are finished today, and I hope that you have a great weekend and stay healthy.
We have another one in about an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I won't see Ms. DeVoe, I don't think so. Thank you, Ms. DeVoe.
Thank you. Is that it?
Thank you, Judge.
That's it. Ms. Hahn,
Hello, can I don't see my face.
I see your
I'm getting it.
picture, but I don't see you on video.
I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm using my laptop today, so it's a little bit different.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, welcome back. I think with your hearing right now and the one next, you might win the prize for most estate hearings on Zoom.
I don't know if I want that prize, but that's all right.
Well, I am anxious to get people back into the courtroom as well. So June 1st, we expect that to happen.
That's fabulous.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
welcome to probate court number 2 in Tarrant County, Texas. I am actually in the courtroom. So if anybody wanted to be heard on this case, which is the estate of Nettie Ruth Belote, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Then they could be heard. I'm Judge Brooke Allen. I appreciate Ms. Hahn you filing the hearing letter about how everyone is there with a notary. Now, are you acting as our notary or you have someone else?
Yes, I will be the notary. And
Okay.
I remember how to swear her in.
Wonderful. All right. Well, if you will swear in your witness, then you may begin.
Okay, I have in my witness today, Jan Lasher. And Jan, I'll ask you to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. Are you Jan Yvonne Lasher?
Yes.
And you're well acquainted with the decedent Nettie Ruth Belote? She was your mother, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is it your testimony that the decedent died on January 9th, 2019 in Tarrant County, Texas at the age of 91?
Yes.
And 4 years have not elapsed since that date, correct?
Right.
Okay. And at the time of her death, she was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Tarrant County.
Yes.
All right, in front of you is a document which is a copy. Do you swear to me that this is a copy of the original will of Nettie Ruth Belote that you delivered to me?
Yes.
Okay, and at the top of that page, you see a file mark?
Yes.
Okay, and it shows it was filed with the Tarrant County Clerk on February 11th, 2020?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'll ask you to turn to page 5. Do you see her signature there?
Yes.
Is that the signature of Nettie Ruth Belote?
Yes.
And how about on page 6 on the self-proving affidavit? Is that her signature?
Yes.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, the original will was never revoked, correct?
Correct.
Right. And the decedent did not apply for or receive any Medicaid benefits on or after March 1st, 2005, correct?
Correct.
Okay. No child or children were born to or adopted by the decedent after the date of the will, correct?
Correct.
And the will does not name the state of Texas, a governmental agency of the state of Texas, or a charitable organization as the devotee, correct?
Correct.
All right. And your testimony today that there's no necessity for the administration of this estate because there are no debts owed by the estate,
Correct.
correct? Okay. All right, I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Her funeral's been paid for?
Yes.
Okay. And any debts, everything's paid for except for maybe debts on real estate?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. I'm going to let you do the next one and I will kind of do everything together to tie it all.
All right. Thank you. I also have with me Lisa Grimmett, who is also named as the independent co-executor. She's here today, so I'm going to swear her in.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God? Okay, stand by. All right, I'm going to first call Jan Lasher. Jan, you're Jan Lasher?
Yes.
And you're well acquainted with the decedent William Eugene Belote.
Yes.
He was your father, is that correct?
Correct.
Is it your testimony that the decedent died on November 23rd, 2019 in Tarrant County, Texas at the age of 93?
Correct.
And 4 years have not elapsed since that date?
Correct.
Okay. And at the time of his death, he was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Tarrant County?
Correct.
All right. I'm going to show you a copy of a document that is, do you swear to me that that is a copy of the original will of William Eugene Belote that you delivered to me to my office?
Yes.
And then there's a file mark at the top right-hand corner.
Yes.
It shows it was filed in Tarrant County with the Tarrant County Clerk on February 11th, 2020.
Yes.
Okay, if you will turn to page 5, And tell me, does that look, is that his signature?
Yes.
Okay, and also on page 6 on the self-proving affidavit, do you recognize that as his signature?
Yes.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, this document, the original will was never revoked, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And no child or children are born to or adopted by the decedent after the will. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
No marriage was dissolved after the date of the will.
Correct.
And the will does not name the state of Texas, a governmental agency of the state of Texas, or a charitable organization as a devotee. Okay. And it's your testimony that a necessity does exist for the administration of this estate.
Correct.
All right. And the will named Nettie Ruth Belote as independent executrix to serve without bond, but she predeceased the decedent.
Correct.
So then the will named you, Kim Denise Rainey, and Lisa Grimmett to serve as successor independent executrixes without bond. However, Kim Rainey predeceased the decedent.
Correct.
All right. So you, is your testimony that, we'll start with you, as you're not disqualified from serving as a co-executor.
Correct.
You've never been convicted of a felony.
No, correct. No.
You're a resident of the state of Texas,
Correct.
and you've never been adjudicated as incompetent.
Correct.
Okay. And so you are willing to serve as independent co-executor.
Correct.
Okay. I'll pass this witness.
Okay.
Okay. Lisa, are you Lisa Grimmett?
Yes.
Okay. And you were well acquainted with the decedent also. He was your father.
Yes.
If I were to ask you all the same questions that I asked Jan Lasher, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Okay. And then you've been named as independent co-executor in the will, and you are not disqualified from serving as such, correct?
Correct.
You've never been convicted of a felony.
Correct.
You're a resident of the state of Texas,
Yes.
and you've never been adjudicated as incompetent.
No.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Ms. Lasher, you said that you had possession of both the wills. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you delivered those to Ms. Hahn, correct?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to show you first Nettie's will, and I want you to tell me if that appears to be the original that you delivered to Ms. Hahn. There is an initial at the bottom of page 1.
The Nettie's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there appears to be initials at each of the bottom of the pages. I'm going to show you page 4 because it's got some unique markings.
That should be good.
Are you looking at Nettie's or
Yes.
Williams?
We're on Nettie's.
Okay, look at hers.
This is Nettie's.
Okay.
Well, and I want you to look at the screen to verify that the original you delivered to Ms. Hahn is what you're seeing on the screen.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to show you the last page. This is page 5 of Nettie's. And let's see. There's her signature, or what purports to be.
Yes.
All right. Does that appear to be the original that you delivered to Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you Williams. And again, we've got on page 1 the signatures or initials.
Yes.
And initials on each page. Again, I'm going to show you page 2 because we have those unique markings.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that one. The attorney's initial.
And I'm going to show you the last page, page 5. Does that appear to be the original that you delivered to Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I will find that Nettie Ruth Belote and William Eugene Belote were both residents of Tarrant County when they passed away, and that you have proved up both their wills in accordance with Texas law. I'll find there's no need for a formal administration in Nettie's estate, and I'll admit her will to probate as a muniment of title. Since her will did go to her husband and trust, I'm going to ask you to file a compliance affidavit, and Ms. Hahn will help you with that. And I am going to find that you're both qualified to serve as independent executrixes of the estate of William Eugene Belote, and I'll admit his will to probate. So if Ms. Lasher and Ms. Grimmett, if y'all will please raise your right hands again. Do you both solemnly swear that the writing which has been offered for probate is the last will and testament of William Eugene Belote, so far as you know or believe, and will you both well and truly perform all the duties of independent co-executrixes of his will and his estate?
Yes.
Okay. Y'all are going to sign 3 things. You're going to sign your oath and your testimony in both William's estate and Nettie's estate. Ms. Hahn will get those notarized and she'll file them with us. Ms. Hahn, I'll send you the orders along with information about muniments of title and being independent executrixes. But I trust y'all are going to continue to work together and with Ms. Hahn on this matter.
Oh, hopefully. Yes.
Yes. All right. You are finished for today. I hope you have a great weekend and stay healthy.
Thank you. You too.
too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
If you're joining us on YouTube, it is about 11:05. Our next hearing is not until 11:30. So I'm actually going to go send these orders to both my coordinator and the clerk. That way they can get them filed and get them back to the attorneys, and these people can get their letters testamentary or their orders for muniments of title and start their process of probating the estate.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. McAllister. How are you?
Doing well. Yourself?
Good. We
This-
are,
This is Robert Elkins.
Mr. Elkins, nice to meet you. I'm Judge Brooke Allen. And welcome to Probate Court number 2 in Tarrant County, Texas. I am actually in the courtroom, so if anyone wanted to be heard on this matter, they could be, as well as we are live streaming on YouTube. So Mr. McAllister, while I know we sometimes get more specific in person in order to protect privacy for since we're on the internet, if you will keep it to county or state so that you meet your burden under the law, but let's not get specific as to addresses or any other items in order to protect privacy matters. Let me turn to your case on the computer.
And I'm going to get the notary in here, Your Honor.
Wonderful, thank you.
Just a moment. Nancy, come on in. Okay. Do I need to turn the volume up a little bit?
Yes.
Let's see if I can turn the volume up a little bit, Judge.
Okay, and I'll try and speak louder as well.
That's better.
Thank you.
Nancy,
Thank you for joining us, and Mr. McAllister, thank you for filing your hearing letter. I'm going to guess that you've probably never sworn in a witness. So if Mr. Elkins, if you will raise your right hand. And Nancy, if you will repeat after me, if you will ask Mr. Elkins if he swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help him God.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. McAllister.
can you tell us your name, please?
Robert Eugene Elkins.
Okay. Mr. Elkins, we're here in the matter of the estate of Catherine Dyke Hinkle Elkins. She was your wife?
Yes.
And did she pass away in January of this year?
Yes.
At the time she died, was she a resident of Tarrant County?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what bears the file mark of March the 2nd, 2020, and ask you if this is a true and correct copy of the last will and testament of Catherine Dyke Hinkle Elkins.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to turn to page 4, I believe it is. Yes, and ask you, well, first of all, have you seen Catherine's signature before today?
Yes.
Okay. The signature on page 4 of this will, is that her signature?
Yes.
It's also over on page 6, another signature. Is that her signature?
Yes.
Okay. She has not revoked her will.
No.
Okay. And how old was she at the time she passed away?
80.
And so we're doing this pretty soon after she passed away.
Yes.
Her will leaves most of her estates to one of your children,
Yes.
Richard Elkins. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was that her desire?
Yes.
And it does not leave any gifts to the state of Texas or to any other charity, does it?
No.
All right. We're doing this today in order to create a muniment of title or a record of title. Is that the way you want to do this?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And 2 or 3 other things. At the time that today, are there any debts that are owed by Catherine's estate?
No.
Okay. Did she receive Medicare or Medicaid? Excuse me. It's Medicaid benefits.
No.
In the last 10 years.
Okay.
Okay. And are you, yeah, she didn't have any children.
No.
Certainly not any after the date of her will, correct?
Right.
And after she made the will, she wasn't divorced.
No.
And let me go back and ask again, are there any debts against the estate?
No.
Okay. Are you asking the court to admit this will to probate as a muniment of title only?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Elkins, are there any beneficiaries of the will that would include a charity or a government entity?
No,
Okay. And did she ever receive Medicaid?
no,
Okay. And are all her bills paid, such as medical and funeral?
yes,
Okay. And were you in possession of the original will?
yes,
And did you deliver that to Mr. McAllister?
yes,
Okay. I'm going to show you, and you may have to get a little closer, what I have to be the original will is I'm sure Mr. McAllister delivered this to the court. And I'm going to show you this first page.
Can you
And
see it?
initials at the bottom.
Hang on, Your Honor. Let me get the computer closer to Mr. Elkins.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead. Is that the same as this?
as near as I can tell, it looks like it.
Okay. And I'll represent to you that I see her initials on each page at the bottom where I just showed you on the first page. I'm going to turn to page 4.
Okay,
And if you'll look on the screen, does that appear to be your wife's signature?
yes,
Okay. And I'm going to show you page 5. The rest of it is blank other than the footer at the bottom and initials. I'm going to show you the last page, which is page 6. Does that appear to be the original that you delivered to Mr. McAllister?
yes,
Thank you. I will find that Catherine Dyke Hinkle Elkins was a resident of Tarrant County when she passed away, and you have proved up her will in accordance with Texas law. I'll find there's no need for a formal administration, and I'll admit her will to probate as a mutament of title. You're going to sign your testimony, and Mr. McAllister will file that with the court. Mr. McAllister, Ms. Clay is going to email you the order after we're finished with our docket. She'll also email you the information about a mutament of title if you'll pass that on to Mr. Elkins. And Mr. Elkins, I trust you're going to continue to work with Mr. McAllister on this matter.
yes.
All right, thank you. Do you have any questions, Mr. McAllister?
Yes, I have a question for you.
Okay.
The proof of death, the oath that we have filed with the court show the signature in front of the clerk of the court. I've had them redrafted so they show a notary. Which do you want him to sign?
You should sign the one that says in front of a notary, because the notary will be the one who is drafting that. It should just be, or do you have an oath of death and proof, or just the proof? It's fine.
An oath of no debts and the proof.
Okay, you can file both. And as soon as the clerk has all of these documents, they'll be able to mail you whatever certified copies you'd like.
Okay.
All right. Thank y'all very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.
It's time. Hello, we're here. Mr. Downing will be in just a minute. I've got the
Okay.
client here.
Good morning. Welcome to probate court number 2 in Tarrant County, Texas. I'm Judge Brooke Allen, and I'm actually here in the courthouse. So if anybody wanted to be heard on this matter, they could be. This is the estate of Mark Dement. And are you Sandra Dement?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you. And are you sitting next to one of the notaries of the firm?
Yes, and
I
Debbie.
am. I'm sorry.
Debbie.
Okay, no, that's fine. All right. Well, let me know when Mr. Downing is there. And
He's here.
oh, okay. I have another Dwayne Downing that is on here, but it doesn't have a video. Can I let that Dwayne Downing go? And just
Yeah, go ahead.
Dwayne's iPad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, setting that down. He'll be back.
You what?
I said he's going to set his laptop down. He's back now.
All right.
Okay.
Oh. No, you're fine.
All right. If our notary would like to swear in Ms. Dement, and I'm happy to take you through that if you'd like.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Downing.
All right. Please state your name.
Sandra Dement.
All right. And you're the applicant for the probate of the will of Mark L. Dement. Is that right?
Yes,
What's your relationship to Mark Dement?
he was my husband.
Did he have a fixed place of residence in Willington Drive, Arlington, Texas, 76018?
Yes,
He was a resident of Tarrant County, right?
yes,
How about you? Are you a resident of Tarrant County?
yes, I am.
And that was Mr. Dement's residence at the time of his death. Is that right?
Yes,
He died on February 17th, 2020 in Arlington, Tarrant County, Texas. Is that right?
yes,
At the age of 65 years of age?
yes.
Okay. And did he own certain real property and personal property that we need to file a probate for?
Yes,
Okay. And there are certain bills of the estate that have not been paid too. Is that right?
yes,
Therefore, there exists a necessity for the administration of the estate of your husband. Is that right?
yes,
And are you asking the court that you be appointed independent executor of the estate?
yes,
And have you been convicted of a crime, felony offense, or misdemeanor in Tarrant, anywhere? Never.
no,
Okay. And you're not under any indictment for theft or anything at all right now either, right?
no,
All right. After the making of the will, did your husband have any children born or adopted to him?
no,
Okay. After the making of the will, did your husband have any marriages dissolved by annulment or divorce?
no.
Okay. Let me show you the will. This is it shows to be the will of Mark L. Dement. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. Page 1, 2, 3. And on page 4, do you recognize that is your husband's signature?
yes,
Did he sign it on or about October 4th, 2012?
yes,
And the will was made self-proved according to the laws of the state of Texas. Is that right?
yes,
Okay. And there were 2 witnesses too. Is that right?
yes,
And me as a notary of that will. After the making of that will, he didn't revoke it, did he?
no,
And this is, as far as you know, his still valid will that he wanted to be probated by the court. Is that right?
yes,
And indeed, application. Indeed, you are asking that the will be admitted to probate.
yes,
And that you be appointed independent executor of the estate of your husband. Is that
Yes.
right? All right, pass witness.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, Judge. I'm sorry. There was no, in the will here, there's no gift to any state or charity.
that's correct.
All right. Sorry, Judge, pass.
All right. Ms. Dement, were you in possession of the original will?
Yes,
Okay, and you delivered that to Mr. Downing?
yes, I did.
And it's your understanding he filed that with the court?
Yes,
Okay, I'm going to show you what I have that purports to be the original, and then I'm going to ask you if it is in fact appears to be the original you delivered to Mr. Downing. This is the first page.
yes,
And I'm going to turn to page 4. Does that appear to be your husband's signature?
yes,
Okay. And the last page.
Yes.
The original that you delivered to Mr. Downing.
Yes.
Thank you. I will find that Mark Dement was a resident of Tarrant County when he passed away, and you have proved up his will in accordance with Texas law. I'll admit his will to probate, and I'll find you're a proper person to serve as independent executrix. So, Ms. Dement, if you will please raise your right hand one more time. Do you, Sandra Dement, solemnly swear that the writing which has been offered for probate is the last will and testament of Mark L. Dement, so far as you know or believe, and will you well and truly perform all the duties of independent executrix of his will and his estate?
I do.
All right. You're going to sign your oath and your testimony in front of the notary. She'll notarize, and Mr. Downing will get that filed with the court. Mr. Downing, you'll receive the order in a few minutes after the end of our docket. And then once all of that is filed, you may receive your letters from the clerk in the mail. Ms. Dement, I'm also going to send something to Mr. Downing that talks about being an independent executrix, and he'll get that to you. But it doesn't substitute for Mr. Downing, and I trust you'll continue to work with him.
Yes, of course.
All right. Thank you. Y'all have a great weekend, and I hope you stay healthy.
You
Thank you,
too.
Judge.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, good morning for 2 more minutes, Mr. Fox and Ms. Craven. Welcome to Probate Court number 2 in Tarrant County, Texas. I'm Judge Brooke Allen. I'm actually in the courtroom, so if anyone wanted to be heard on this matter and the estate of James Bryant Fox, they could be. Ms. Craven, thank you for filing your hearing letter so that I know who I'm looking for in our virtual waiting room. And Mr. Fox, will you please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Craven.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Fox, please state your full name for the record.
Joel Bryant Fox.
And how are you related to James Bryant Fox?
I am his son.
And your father then died here in Tarrant County, Texas on or about February 18th, 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he resided here in Tarrant County, Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You had given a will that we had filed with the court to me. I'm going to ask you some questions about a document I'm going to hold up to the screen, okay?
Okay.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Craven, Mr. Fox, do you have a copy of that in front of you?
Yeah, I emailed one to you.
Okay, Mr. Fox, I'm going to ask you to look at that copy. I'm going to show you what purports to be the original when Ms. Craven is finished.
Okay.
She's not having to hold it up, which is essentially what I'm going to have to do, but I have the original, I believe. So go ahead, Ms. Craven.
Thank you. Mr. Fox, will you look at that document in your hand and do you recognize that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a true and correct copy of a document you presented to me to file with the court?
Yes, it is.
What is the title of that document?
Last Will and Testament of James B. Fox.
And how many pages are there?
5 in total.
On page 4, is that the signature of James B. Fox?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
There are 2 witnesses who also signed.
Yes.
And on the last page, is there a notary signature, date, and seal?
Yes, ma'am.
Being the son of your father, do you recognize the handwriting of your father?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And you would swear and affirm to the court today that that is his signature?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Are you asking the court to allow this document to be considered as the last will and testament of your father, James B. Fox?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, in that document, you are named as the independent executor without bond. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a 3rd level residuary beneficiaries that are the American Heart Association and Mission Arlington. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And on the copy of the document I have, that's on page page 1. Now, you have caused on or about April 1st to send certified mail to the Texas Attorney General regarding this case because charities were named. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Even though they're not going to receive anything based on the fact that you survived your father, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, we have not received a green card back. I would offer that to the court as an officer of the court. I don't know why they're not receiving mail, but we haven't received anything to date. I will file that when I receive it with the affidavit of notice to beneficiaries, if that'd be okay with the court.
That's fine.
Now, also, because they're named beneficiaries, we also sent notice on or about April 1st to the Mission Arlington and also to the American Heart Association, who are tertiary beneficiaries of this deal in the residuary estate, correct?
Yes.
And again, we have not received green cards related to those notices, but wanted to give them notice prior to a hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, because your father was sick for a time, we also contacted the Texas Medicaid Estate Recovery Program and filed to see if there was a claim for Medicaid. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Recognize this document?
Yes.
Do you recognize your signature on that document?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And do you see that the state has responded and said there's no claim and nothing that they're planning to pursue in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Even so, there is a necessity to administrate this estate. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
There are bills to be paid.
Yes.
Now, your father was not married to anyone after that will was made on November 1997, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And he did not have any additional children after that date. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any reason you would be disqualified to serve as the independent executor of this estate, such as having a felony conviction
No, ma'am.
or any unsuitable conduct that would be deemed by the court inappropriate for managing an estate?
No, ma'am.
Are you asking this court to admit the will to probate and authorize letters testamentary to you as the independent executor without bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass the witness.
Okay. Mr. Fox, was your father known as James Bryant Fox as well as James B. Fox?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and was he 77 when he passed away?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the will is dated November 12th, 1997, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in possession of the original?
Yes, ma'am.
And you delivered that to Ms. Craven?
I did, yes.
Okay, I'm going to show you what I have that purports to be the original. Here's the first page.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And page 2. Does that appear to be your father's signature?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. And page 3, the witnesses.
Yes.
And we have page 4. Does that appear to be his signature again?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right. And the last page. This. And does that
Yes.
appear to be the original that you were in possession of and delivered to Ms. Craven?
Yes, it is.
All right. Thank you. And do you live here in Texas?
Yes, ma'am. In Fort Worth.
Okay. And have you ever been adjudicated mentally incompetent?
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. I will find that James Bryant Fox was a resident of Tarrant County when he passed away, and you have proved up his will in accordance with Texas law. I'll admit his will to probate, and I'll find you're a proper person to serve as independent executor. Mr. Fox, if you'll raise your right hand one more time. Do you, Joel Bryant Fox, solemnly swear that the writing which has been offered for probate is the last will and testament of James Bryant Fox, so far as you know or believe? Will you well and truly perform all the duties of independent executor of his will and his estate?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I am going to ask you if you will sign your proof and your oath, and Ms. Craven will get that filed with the court. Ms. Craven, you will receive the order from Ms. Clay in a few minutes, and she's also going to send you information for Mr. Fox that talks about being an independent executor. Mr. Fox, this will talk to you about your rights and obligations as an independent executor, but it doesn't substitute for Ms. Craven, and I trust you'll work with her.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much, and have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks.
Your
You
Honor.
too.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.